Welcome to the Releasing Community podcast. We are here to share our love of releasing and the Sedona method and sharing our gains and insights of using the method, experiences and benefits. And today our guest is Liesbeth van Woerden, who comes from the Netherlands, and she's been using the method since 2006. She's a certified the Sedona method coach, and she has helped hundreds of people in the Netherlands to live better lives. Very lovely to have you here, Liesbeth. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for the introduction.
Nice to have you here. So tell us, how did you find the Sedona method in the first place?
Actually, I don't remember how I found it. I remember I had the book, but I don't remember where it came from. Yeah, I had the book and I could not do so much with the book, really.
Yes.
And that has to do perhaps with the translation. But it was interesting enough that when David Elsie came to the Netherlands for the first time, Martin Klatte already, he was already inviting David to the Netherlands. So I went to that reading, we called it, or a lecture, something like that, just out of curiosity. And immediately I thought, oh, this is like something so so complete. Like it's not just a spiritual thing or another teaching. It has so much in it that I was getting immediately excited. Yeah. And that had to do also with that it's so easy to even teach it to a child, but also go really, really, really deep with it. And it's a very spiritual path. And for me, that was like, okay, this is everything. So that was when I got into it deeper. And the fact that since that lecture, I started connecting with other people about the method, and then it started to be alive. So I know there are some people who can really work with the book, and that's it, and that's enough, even. Yeah. But for me, it had to do with releasing with others. And then I went to Sedona immediately. I think after a few months.
Wow, you went so quickly.
Yeah.
So was the Sedona method book, it was already translated into Dutch?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. And how was the Sedona? How's going Sedona? How did that feel?
Well, that was like a miracle. It was apart from Sedona, the town and the surroundings, of course, which helps. Yeah, it was really, really wonderful to work with people and to be with people. Because when I was a lot younger, I lived in Pune, in India, and it reminded me of that. And you know what happened there? I met this Indian guy that I've been working with in Pune 40 years before that.
Wow.
So that means that it's if we talk about oneness or about this is such a universal thing, and that's what I felt there with the people. Yeah.
So how did you start practicing it then? You started. Did you immediately start using it as in your work or?
No.
No.
That took some years before I thought. Well, at that time, I had a workshop. I taught people to make clothes and to do drawing and all that stuff. So I was already teaching, and slowly it became so using the method while I was having my classes. So and then slowly, I started. I do think I started immediately with doing support groups. That's yeah. So the support groups at that time, there was we had a computer, but not like I didn't have a smartphone or anything like that. So I invited the people in my house every week, I think, or every 2 weeks. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So just people from the neighborhood. Yeah. And I hang up all these things, learn how to let go and release and Sedona. And people came to my house every Monday evening, I think, something like that. Yeah.
Wow, that is really something.
Yeah,
So people were ready to come and they were interested.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I didn't have any follow-up. There was not like, okay, the next step is going to be, and now you're going to pay me. No, that was totally not the, I wasn't thinking of that. I was just thinking of, spreading the good news. And then after a couple of years, I started, I think in 2010 or 9, I switched and started making a website. Yeah.
So what were the kind of first changes you saw in your own life or attitude or feelings? What kind of kept you doing it since it clearly had an impact?
Yeah, really, if I have to put it in a few words, it's
Really use many words.
recognizing the patterns, recognizing stuff that feels so real, like it feels like 100% real and significant and very personal, and then knowing that it's not. So that was for me so helpful. It's not like that this is one of the release techniques. It's the welcoming and that really worked for me immediately. Not so much the questions, those questions. I teach them now to other people, but for some people it works. If you're really auditive oriented, maybe it works, but for me it's the welcoming. Yeah, and that immediately in one breath, the welcoming and the noticing of the resistance, and then letting go of resisting what is here now. And it's so simple, actually. That's what works for me the best.
Oh, that's really interesting. I find we all have kind of our favorite questions and ways of using.
Yes.
I know many people say that they don't really like the could you let it go, would you let it go? So you don't either, but have you seen your clients or people you've taught it? Have you noticed the same?
No. Some people really want to, they don't want to, but they really have a lot of results using those sentences. So when I work with a client, I just try or teach or introduce them to all the different tools. And sometimes it's not even necessary to do that, but sometimes, usually the holistic releasing works like a miracle for many people, but they find it hard to do it on their own. They like, my voice, and then bringing them from that part to that part. And then they go like, oh my God, huh? Well, it's gone, No, I don't believe it. But then doing it on their own is more difficult. So, and that needs a lot of practicing. And I used also holistic releasing when I have something physical. I always use it with physical issues.
With yourself or with clients?
No, with myself and with clients as well. Yeah,
okay.
With clients as well. It's my favorite thing to go to. Yeah, because it's energetic. Yeah, or it's immediately bringing people out of their thinking to the whatever is there.
I'm curious, what kind of holistic phrases are you using? Like feeling the pain, or it's not the there? Or
Oh, no, I don't use the word pain.
of course,
Yes.
yes.
I immediately tell them, for instance, a woman with migraine, and I worked with her not just one session, but many sessions to get rid of that. So she was not allowed anymore. That was her assignment for me to use the word. Yeah.
Mm.
So and she was. I asked her to call me when she would feel the first sign of the thing that she was not allowed to mention. And then sometimes she called me at 7 a.m, like, yes, here I am. I feel some physical sensations around the area of, so that's how I taught her how to word it.
Yeah.
She started doing that. In the beginning, she needed me to help her at the moment of the real attack. Yeah, because if you have a migraine, all you want is it to go away. Yeah, and you can't welcome it. If you have 3 small children and a job, and the migraine comes, you can't go and sit like welcoming. So, but she could call me, so I could help her the first few weeks. And now, after that, she got rid of her migraine, because now she could immediately, with the first sign, and that's important, I think. I don't know, but I think it's important, with the first sign that she feels something, to start releasing. Because that's the same with us, isn't it? If something is overwhelming, or you feel like, oh my God, and you sink into it, and then sometimes I call it a roundabout, you're already too far to get off, and you have to go the whole round, like, so the sooner you can welcome it, the sooner you get off the roundabout. And release.
You put your finger on a paradox, I think, which is that if there's something uncomfortable, something that we don't want, something unwelcome, so to speak, but that's the last thing that we want to do, is to open, to give permission, to welcome. It's absolutely instinctive, I think, in human beings, because I feel it myself, but also in clients, and with some people, in fact, to even describe it like that, oh, well, open yourself to the migraine pain. Are you joking?
Of course, in the beginning, people think you're crazy. Yeah, always.
Right.
Yeah, that's the thing, when you work with people who are totally, and I work now with a lot of government people who never heard of Eckhart Tolle or read a book or anything, they're just, working in government and family or whatever. So this welcoming something that is, really like feels like a trauma for them, or something really bad, is that's something that takes a couple of sessions to you have to do a lot of explaining. I never say to someone, oh, could you let go of wanting to figure it out? I explain what's going on, and then they can start doing it. I think they dare slowly to welcome it. But you want to say something, Stephen?
No, I was just trying to, my understanding of it is, so my sense of it is, first of all, there's this unconditional acceptance at the very, very foundation of the Sedona method. And you were talking about that in the beginning, that, it's whatever you're feeling is what you're feeling. Yes. And so you start by acceptance. And there's also the sense in which it's not personal. That also comes on very quickly, I find, as well. It helps, because if it feels personal, it's mine. Oh my God, I'm responsible.
Yeah.
But if it's impersonal, well, it sort of lets me off the hook. That's one thing. Yeah. And the other is that, like you said, doing this alone can be more difficult, and it helps to have the other and to me, it's a sense of presence. So as the facilitator, you actually provide that presence.
Absolutely.
Until that person, I think, is able to develop that on their own. Like you said, this person, this client had to develop the ability to maintain presence when this phenomenon, when this migraine started.
Yes.
But when she was able, when she had the experience of presence, then she was able on her own.
And she already had so she needed those couple of successes that sometimes cannot work if you're not. So when I work with someone, I say, you can call me anytime, okay, I may not answer immediately because I can't anytime, but I will always call you back. And that is for them such a relief, because it can be so overwhelming that they think, okay, of course this doesn't work. Yeah. So then they have to fall back. They think it doesn't work. Whereas if sometimes I only need 5 minutes to help someone just to do those first steps. And that's I think that's great. That's also giving the space for them and to really, what we experience in the group or in Sedona. I mean, they can't do it immediately on their own. It's impossible. Now, some can, but there are exceptions.
So that's interesting to hear that part of the service that you offer is the ability to be on call.
Yeah.
Right.
That's part of I call it traject. I don't know the word in English. It's a package. Yeah. So I say, I work with you 6 weeks or 3 months, and you can always call me or send me a WhatsApp when you are in trouble, because clients, they call you that, they're not going to do this if they're not a little bit in trouble or they want something, they want to change something. And to be there for them in those moments that they are overwhelmed or panic attacks or all that kind of stuff, that can help, make a change for the day. Yeah. And change a whole day, those 5 minutes. And then after a while, they do it themselves.
I see. So you usually do, packages of 6 weeks or 1 month or
3 months. 3 months.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's also on my website. But sometimes people say, well, 3 months is too much, or I can't afford it, or whatever. And then I say, well, we can do 6 weeks, but that's the least.
The least.
Yes, that's the least. And before that, in the beginning, I just did what I talked with Katja about that. I also did, anybody could have a session anytime, and then I had it up to them to decide whether they want another session and whenever they want. But I don't do that anymore.
So you learn to value your time.
Yeah, but I do that with people who are using the method, like us, people who know the method. Yeah, of course, you can always, we can always release together, but that's different from someone who wants to make a change in their life or, and want to learn how to use the Sedona method. Because that's what they want to learn, and that doesn't go in 2 sessions,
So it means, let's say, the 3-month commitment.
Yeah.
That means that you're available when necessary, when there's the need. And there are also scheduled calls as well. Is that right?
Yes, of course. Yes.
Okay, then.
Yes, I have 1 call a week or a meeting when they are in my city. Yeah. And of course, that's the session, and the other stuff is just for emergencies. Many people don't call me ever. But the ones who do actually make more progress, because they really are aware of, okay, now something is going on, and this is now. So, yeah, that's funny, but it's.
Could it be that it's kind of when you are actually willing to admit that you need help? That also is helpful for the progress.
Yes.
Because as long as you're trying to manage on your own, doing probably the same things you've been doing before, it might not be as
or rationalize it or go and do something else. And that sometimes works, if you are anxious or panicky or whatever, and you go and do something else, that works as well. But then you don't make that kind of change that you could make when really facing what's here now and welcoming it instead of, some people say I let it go, but that's, well, you never know, of course, whether you push it away or you let it go. The only one to decide is you yourself, whether you really release something or whether you did some spiritual bypass or push it down. I cannot ever judge another person, like, okay, well, did you really let it go? Sometimes I do ask it. Did you really, or is there a little bit left? That's what Hill also does, of course. Did you save a little bit for later? Yeah, a little bit. Okay, a little bit.
So, have there been any client cases that have been kind of really remarkable changes in them or in your own life that you would always share that this is my big gain or big benefit of using the method?
Well, yes, I have some stories of clients that are amazing. Let's start with myself. It's in the area of thinking what is possible and what is not possible in life. So I really had some very strong beliefs about not being business-like or never being able to earn a lot of money or, well, I had I never had money problems, but I did have some, like, that's it, some borders around it. And that's gone the moment that I saw a house that I really wanted to have. And I thought, I want to have this house. So I already had a tactic of that by, going to the, on my bicycle, passing it many times, like 3 times a day, going there and really focusing on it like this. This is my house. It's not so much I want it, but I should be in that house, But I didn't have the money. I had 100,000 euros short. So I had no idea how to get that. And that's by releasing that kind of fell into my lap. And also I sold another house that was pretty unsellable in one day. And I also pictured that. I pictured that I would really do that. And that was a very strong belief in me that I could, and I really believed it, So that's an example of this, effortless creation, effortless creation.
Yes.
Yes.
Sounds amazing.
Pardon?
Sounds amazing.
Yeah. Well, I live there now, and it's really my house. It's mine. So, and it was already, when I was cycling there, I said, this is my house.
So wait.
It's just for sale, though,
You manifested a house using the Sedona method, is that correct?
Well, yeah, I did something else as well. You know what I did? I made not like a mood board, but a video of pictures of the house with some great music under it. And I watched it like 10 times a day. Yeah, my house. Yeah. So I did some other tricks, but it's that money thing that I could not have. And that's the beauty of releasing for your goal, is that you let go of how am I going to get that money, or how am I going to reach that goal. You let go of the how to. You just really connect with the end result. And yeah, that's I translated kind of the effortless creation and work with people doing that in Dutch. Yeah.
Mm.
So we use the same steps as in, effortless creation, the programmer.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, to be clear to our listeners here, you're describing, that's the title of a course which Hale Dwoskin is offering on the Sedona Method website.
Oh, okay. Yes.
So that's a plug for Hale, who is our teacher and the leader of the Sedona Method.
Absolutely, yeah. So, yeah. And so some of my, well, it's just something that happened 2 weeks ago. I have this people from the government now, kind of, one started coming, and then her boss came because he said, "My God, what happened to you? This big change. I need to go there too." And she said, "You have to go to Liesbeth and learn the Sedona method." Okay, so now he said, and so he said the other day, he said, "My God," he said, "this is like a rebirth. I should have been here 20 years ago." And that's someone who knows nothing about Advaita, non-dualistic teaching or releasing or psychology or nothing. And that's what I like so much is to work with different kind of people and to make the whole translation to someone who's new, or I like that. I enjoy that. You know what I mean? Like that you talk different to someone like that than to a child who comes in with a wound, or someone who has been on this path already for 30 years. Yeah, you talk different. You have different language.
Yes.
And that's what I like. That's what makes it. I don't know the word in English. Variety, lots of variety.
So have you found that it's in my experience, which is I have much less than you have, but it almost feels it's easier to get people releasing when they have no experience of anything than when they have a strong spiritual background and they have already set beliefs how things should go and what's possible and what's not.
Yeah, it can be easier, but it can also be very difficult.
Yeah, of course.
It can also be like, there can be a lot of resistance. And in the beginning, when I did this, when I started like having clients, I thought it was not possible to work with people who stayed in their head. I thought, well, but it is possible. And it's also really enjoyable, I think, to lead them slowly, to go somewhere a little bit, into their feelings. Because there are people who say, "I don't feel anything," or "I'm numb," but that's also a feeling. Yeah.
Yes.
So how do you do that, kind of guide them to their feelings? Is that kind of how you start? Like you're feeling numb, let's check on that.
Well, people who are what we say, that doesn't sound nice, but people who are all the time rationalizing, and I get a lot of people like that, and keep rationalizing, and when you start doing a practice, they still answer with their with their eyes open and with their mind. And I think it's wonderful to help a person like that, to introduce them to that there's something else what we're doing now, and the mind can be it can be, you can see your thoughts go by, but you don't have to give them the attention now. So we go a little bit down here, and can you welcome that? Okay. And then again, the eyes go open, and they really want to have the control all the time. Yeah, not of me, but of the situation. And then slowly, I love that work, to have people feel something. And even then, and then have the kind of the result that something will change by allowing the feeling, even though if it's a little bit. Because even the little bits are, very good.
Yeah, they can make a huge difference.
I wanted to touch a little bit on what you said earlier. You mentioned that you lived in Pune.
Yeah.
40 years ago.
Even longer, but yeah.
So if I do my math,
yeah,
what that means is Osho, or the Bhagwan Sri Rajneesh, as he was known, had a center in Pune in those days. Were you involved in that at all? Is that part of your background?
Yeah, that's what I was talking about. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so that gives me a little bit more context, because that was a spiritual path 40 years ago that evolved since then as well.
That was the place to be.
That was the place to be, okay.
If you were a hippie in the 70s or 60s, 70s.
I see, okay. So you've been a spiritual a devotee or a spiritual
I was,
speaker.
and but I left when I also went a couple of times. Of course, maybe you have seen the documentary, I don't know, on Netflix. Did you?
Yes, of course. Yes.
So I also went to Oregon.
Okay.
Yeah, so I was there, and then my whole body told me, and I didn't know nothing about all the stuff that was going on. My body told me, go, yeah, and I had no idea why, but I have some more examples in my life that I have this strong intuition.
Sorry, when you say go, you meant leave the Osho commune.
Yes, leave.
So you're describing this was a period in Oregon in the 80s when, yes.
Yeah, leave, yes. Right. Burn your mala and goodbye. Yeah.
Yes.
And I didn't know why, because nothing of what is known now, since that documentary, nothing was known at that time. It was just, fun and great and all that. But something inside me knew that it was all over, and it's, because.
And again, just to provide the context for the listener who doesn't know the story, that the Bhagwan Sri Rajneesh started a commune in Oregon in the 80s.
Yes.
Which kind of went in a rather toxic direction, which is this documentary on Netflix. I don't remember the name of it. Yes. And so you left that then.
Yes, I left.
Okay. Yeah. I do. However, there is one thing that's interesting so I don't say that I've been involved in Osho or the Bhagwan or those days, but what I understand of that is that there was an emphasis in what was experienced in the body. There was this dynamic meditation that had to do with working in the body and releasing trauma through the body, and in the Sedona method, I also find the body is a very effective way of releasing. Mm-hmm. Would you like to speak about that a little bit? Because it seems that you resonate.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah. So the physical aspect of the community in Pune, that was totally new, because it was spiritual and Indian, and meditation and lectures and sitting at the feet of the master and all that. But then you had all this physical stuff, not just the dynamic meditations where you could really have a lot of catharsis and let go of. It was all about letting go. It was all about letting go and releasing, really. I even found a letter of Bhagwan when I was cleaning my stuff that I had in 1980, I think. and it said "let go" on the postmark. Yeah, they had it "let go." So, and also what was the same was when at the same time when Lester was doing the groups they called intensives, we in Pune were also doing intensives, like 3 days just sitting in front of each other and changing like partner all the time and just saying, tell me who you are, making space. And you were not allowed to answer. Or, I mean, you were not allowed. So the person who you are speaking to was just an open, how you say it? Yeah, making space for what you had to share. So in the beginning, the first rounds, the first hours, you know, you go like, oh yeah, blah, 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 blah. And of course, after a day, you know, everybody is crying and all stuff coming up, and it was for 3 days. And actually, Lester did also those intensives. So that was like a world, like universal at that time. Yeah, and still, it's still, when we sit in front of each other in the Sedona groups, and, you know, we don't say, tell me who you are, but are you? Yeah, same thing.
Well, what you're speaking about to me is just that, in that sense, there's nothing new in the world. The Sedona method actually appears in many other different, well, if you will, what works about the Sedona method also appears in other different methodologies and techniques that I see.
Yeah.
One thing that I very much value about it, however, is it presents itself as a toolkit. There's nothing to believe. In fact, Tel very frequently says, don't believe a word I say. Try what works.
Exactly.
And if it does, continue. If it doesn't, it's not for you.
Yeah. Well, to be honest, Stephen, the same was in Pune, but you didn't come into Pune if you were not going to be a sannyasin. So that's the difference. So that's why I was immediately in love with the Sedona method, because I was done with a teacher, you know, on a high pedestal. I never want to, put someone on a pedestal anymore, because then they have to drop, you know, one day they, yeah. And also, the freedom that it represented, and the, no doctrines. So that's the difference, I think. And there is what makes the Sedona method last a lot longer than anything else. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
That is the beauty of it. I've been to lots of other modalities, but I've never taken into anything that would have kind of a levels. But I knew many people who were kind of all sorts of, I'm a first level or second level or third level, whatever. And I remember coming back home from the first retreat I took in Holland in 2015, and telling that I love it. There are no levels. There are like, no, of course there are more experienced people, but not like I'm the, black belt releaser or whatever.
Yes.
So
exactly.
it's very open in that sense too.
Yeah, that's very free. Yeah, and open for everybody. Yeah. I really like that as well, because after Pune, I was in a Gnostic school for 20 years. I was with the Rosicrucians. I studied all the Gnostics. That was my desire to really, go a lot deeper into whatever. I don't know how to call it, but I was sitting there in temples and, going to lectures and being a Rosicrucian. But after 20 years, I realized that you're talking about the levels. It was such a hierarchy that it didn't bother me in the beginning, but eventually it did bother me, and I couldn't stay because of that. But I learned a lot, and there was a lot of practice of, sitting in temples, and, it was a really non-dual teaching, really. and universal as well. So, but it was the school itself and the, what do you call it, the rules. And I remember the book of Eckhart Tolle books. Eckhart Tolle's book came out, and I said, we need to sell this in our library. And they said no. They only believed in all the old, Hermes Trismegistus, and all the old Egyptian and everything that was old, that was believed in, But it couldn't. There could not be any new person now like Eckhart Tolle saying the same thing in another language. And then I left there as well. I thought, okay, well, so I did a lot of this kind of stuff. But for Sedona, Sedona method is not like that, because it's not a school, it's not rules, it's no doctrines. And that's what is nice for other people as well, that they, that they don't have to become something, or or be admitted to something. It's nothing. Yeah, that's free. That's free. Very free.
Right. And also in facilitation. So the very best facilitation comes with no agenda, with no goal, without any objective.
Yeah.
So I very frequently invite people, well, okay, would you like to play with that?
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, that's
not like, would you like to let that go? I find the letting go questions can be how you say, there's a hidden trap there, which is, if I'm being asked to let go, it means that I need to do something. I'm the doer.
Yeah.
And I can either do it right or I can do it wrong.
Yeah.
And so, with this letting go also can come this sense of trying to control the outcome. That's sort of the hidden trap right there, which is why I also prefer, like you said, can you open? Can you allow? Can you welcome? Yes.
I hardly ever use the words, so can you let it go now? Only sometimes. Sometimes when, and for myself as well, it works as a decision. Like, then it works. Okay, now I let it go. Yeah. But most of the time, it's first of all welcoming everything, and then welcome it as a pattern. Can you see that all of this is the pattern or the structure or whatever you want to call it? Yes. And then they go, yes. So are you aware of this structure pattern? Yeah. So the moment you're aware of the pattern or the structure, you are more the awareness than the identification with the pattern. Oh, yeah. And then, and then
that is the key right there.
By itself.
Sorry, could you repeat what you just said? I was speaking over you.
No, I don't remember.
Yeah.
And I didn't notice you speaking of me.
Oh, okay.
No.
Well, just to continue what you said, I do find that very often that is, the solution right there is simply to see it. That's 90% of the solution, if you will. Once you see the pattern, once the mechanism is revealed.
Yes.
Before it was below the surface, it was unconscious. You weren't looking at it, but now it's in the open.
Yes.
And that itself releases
and it releases itself.
Yes.
There's a question I use a lot of the time, and that is, it's actually the third question of the triple welcoming, but I don't translate it literally like Hale does. Hale says, any sense that this is about you or who you are. I will never say that, because people go like, what? And they immediately go in their head. So what I ask in that third question is usually, does it feel familiar? Yeah, it feels familiar. Could it be possible that you get some safety from those contractions and this pattern? Does it feel safe? And then people admit almost always that it feels safe. to feel shit. That's weird, isn't it? It feels safe to be contracted. So and then the next round, it's much easier to, you can, I ask, could you let go of wanting to get your safety? And then I say safety because it isn't safe. It just feels safe. And you let go of your sense of safety from this contraction. And then the release happens by itself.
That's so useful, what you just said. I usually say it in a different way, and I like the way that you said it. What I've noticed time and again is that there's actually a hidden payoff,
Mm-hmm.
right? And in
Yeah.
this case, you just put your finger on it that, okay, I feel like shit, but it's familiar,
Yeah.
and therefore it's safe.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so that's the hidden payoff. At least I'm safe.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. And then when you can explain to someone that the feeling safe is actually, it's just a feeling and it isn't actually safe, because when you're contracted, you're not safe. You're contracted. So you will be safe when you start relaxing in it and feeling it, and you will get more access to your frontal lobe, and you get out of the amygdala fear-based energy. So
Yes.
some people need that whole explanation
Yes.
in order to stop their mind wanting to stay in control.
Well,
not everybody, but some people.
I would, I actually phrase that a little differently. I see what you're saying. It's that, to me, so many of us look at the mind or the ego as an enemy to be defeated, etc., 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 where that just sets up a fight. But in fact, it's very beneficial to speak to the mind in that way that you described, to offer an explanation that it can understand, because then, what I see in each and every case really is that the mind, once it sees this is beneficial, okay, it will step up as an ally. But there's a kind of the tricky thing, though, is that the mind doesn't always understand releasing, because it goes on beyond the mind.
Of course.
And therefore, that's the initial resistance. Well, I don't,
Yes.
But once it receives the explanation, the mind, once it sees the benefit and the explanation can help it to put that in context, then the mind is ready to step up in every case as an ally. Yeah.
It's an ally. Exactly.
I think it's so important.
Yeah, and I think it's important for everybody that uses the method to find the way that really suits you. That's that you don't kind of use the protocols or the sentences, and of course we learn them by heart and we know them, but they need to also have, how do I say that? Some of your own experience has to come through it in order to touch the person, to wake the person up, or to give some light, or to whatever, I don't know. And of course there's no I, blah, blah, blah. We don't go there now, but you know what I mean? It's like, it's even though we are not a person, it's still an energy thing between you and someone you work with that you open up for. And how do I say it? I sometimes compare it with playing the piano, and you still need the paper and you're still practicing, and then one day you don't need it anymore and you start playing, and it's getting more of whatever is coming out of you, your own original energy.
Nevertheless, the way that you play will also have a distinct imprint from you. So you'll bring your
say that again.
Well, so the way that once you understand how to play and that the hands can follow the keys and so forth, then that allows you to make it your own unique expression. There's something of you which is in that sense that as a facilitator, for example, I'm totally inadequate in the Dutch language. Sorry. You may actually be more suited to Dutch speakers in that sense. Yeah.
Of course. So yeah. But you mean that when you start playing with something that is more you, at the same time you let go of you completely, and then it's like the flow that goes by itself. That's what I was also trying to say. Yeah, it's not like a channeling. It's not like channeling. Right. It's not like I'm gone. Yeah, but there's not much in between. And that those are the best sessions. Yeah.
Yes.
But sometimes we're in the way, of course, with some thoughts of still wanting to, get approval or fix the other person or whatever. Even though we do the cleanups, still you want to help someone, sometimes.
Of course. What kind of clients tend to come to you? What sort of clients do you attract? What sorts of issues are they dealing with? You mentioned, of course, the migraines.
No, that's right now, the last couple of years, there's a lot of overwhelm. There's a lot of burnout. There's a lot of very stressful situations in work. But there's also, I also had a client, for instance, who wanted to learn the Sedona method. That was a guy who's a stock. Is it called a stockbroker? Where you were when you have to make decisions about millions of dollars. Yeah, that's his job. For very, very rich people, he has to make decisions. So he was a really businessman. He wanted to learn how to let go of that last bit of fear. And we worked for 6 months. And so he really learned how to use all the methods in certain situations to let go of fear. So it's not always that people come with a problem. Sometimes people come who want to just learn a lot and become better and better and better, or more light, or more whatever. Like in the Bible, it says van heerlijkheid naar heerlijkheid. It means like, what's that in the Bible in English? You go from wonderful to even more wonderful to even more wonderful.
Would that be miracle or wonder?
I'll look it up and I'll make the translation later.
Sure.
But it's not always someone. That's not always people coming, that they have a lot of problems. But most of the time, yes, they want to get rid of something. They want to. So right now, the people from the government is paying, so they don't have to pay themselves. So they also need to have their energy more in balance. So with releasing, this can all be done, by addressing the energy takers, and welcoming them. And
imagine every government paying all their members to do Sedona method. That would be.
Wouldn't that be great? Yeah.
So do you still you're having lots of clients, so do you still do releasing on your own, or do you feel the need for it?
Well, what I do is when I have some things in my life that are pretty stubborn, I'm still sometimes worried about my son who's already almost 40, and that's because of something that happened in my life when I was 6. My little brother had an accident, and from that moment on, I thought, okay, let's prepare now for the next accident. Yeah. And I kept that inside me for the rest of my life. So that is still something that can just come up like a real anxiety and a fear of something really bad happening now. Yeah. And it can come. And before the Sedona method, I could, it could overwhelm me really very much. And right now, I always know that this is the pattern. This is what kept me safe when I was 6, and it's not necessary anymore. And I say all these things to myself. Yeah, but I must really be honest that it sometimes still comes when there's a trigger, or when I'm not feeling well, or if I didn't sleep for a couple of nights, and there are some triggers or some issues going on. Then it's just like the weak spot that you can. So, but the releasing is for me that what I just said. It's like I say it to myself. I say, yeah, it feels very safe to be very stressed and to prepare for the next accident all the time. That feels safe, and it helped you when you were 6. So thank you. And now what's here now? And then I feel my body, and I feel the nervous sensations, and I open up. And so yeah, but that's still, I can't say that it's gone. It still can, but so much less than years ago, when it was really something that was hidden inside me because nobody knew. I didn't even know it myself. Yeah, that I was really always preparing for an accident.
But what you said is that it's no longer hidden.
Yes.
The mechanism is in the open, so it's more obvious now.
Yeah.
That, so very often with the Sedona method, we just sort of hope that these things will completely disappear. Oh, I never have to experience this again. Thank you, finish. But what you're saying is that, yeah, actually that groove is still worn in the psyche.
Yeah.
It's just that you no longer have to suffer.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it even can give me the sensations of something really bad going to happen. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So the sensations feel really real. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, I know that this is the pattern, and then I can let it go. Oh, I can't say that I can let it go. I just really notice and welcome how it feels, and that I really want to be. That's the thing. It's kind of an addiction as well, because I want to be confirmed that everything's okay. Yeah. So right now at this stage of my life, I'm really do not need anymore the confirmation that it's okay. Yeah. I'm like an alcoholic. I stopped the drinking. Yeah.
Right.
But of course, when I get a text or something like, "Hi, Mom, how are you doing?" Then I am happy. Yeah, it's not that I'm totally, but it's not anymore that I need it. And years before Sedona, or even in the beginning, I really needed that confirmation. I would do anything to get a confirmation that there's no accident. So that was an addiction, actually.
Right.
Yeah, it's like it's the same as any other addiction. I needed that confirmation.
You needed the confirmation that nothing had happened to your son.
Yes, and actually I learned that from Joe Dispenza. Actually, that's what's happening is you are addicted to these. I don't know what it is. The hormones, certain hormones, you are addicted to them. Mm-hmm. Yeah? And that's why you need that confirmation. And you're addicted, and then you do that all over again and all the time. So that's like, yeah. So
I wonder though, so in my experience, because of course I also have my deep grooves, if you will, or ruts or patterns. Yeah. And I wonder if this resonates for you, but I also in some way find gratitude for that, because it's these patterns, these ruts, these.
Yes.
This is really what's brought me to my deepest truth, because
Oh,
I felt I hadn't. It's either suffer,
Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
or find a solution at one point. So for many of us, our suffering is our greatest teacher or our first teacher.
Yes.
And in that sense, it becomes possible. You mentioned alcoholism. I'm not an alcoholic, but it's a great example, right?
Yes.
The alcoholic finds that that desire for the drink is actually something to be grateful for, because it's led so far and
Yes.
so deep.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
And that's where, in fact, healing and truth come finally.
Exactly.
Yes.
Well, that's wonderful, Stephen, that you can acknowledge that gratitude. I mean, I can at certain moments, but certainly not in a moment when it's there. Yeah, the craving or the when you are
Yeah.
when you're in there, then well, that would be a great. I will remember this. So the next time when I will slip in there, I'm not preparing for it. No, Mike, I'm not preparing for it. Okay, I'm letting go. But anyway, next time I will remember this conversation, and I will feel
Really?
gratitude. Yeah. So that's very beautiful.
Well, it goes to one of my favorite lessons from Lester is squaring all with love.
Yes.
And so, in that sense, even that incredible drive towards suffering,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
in a way, it's trying to help, isn't it? That's
Yeah.
the essence of it. So even that is an expression of love, if you will, although it's wearing a carnival mask,
Yeah.
although it's truly not leading you in a direction that's going to be beneficial. This is the intention somehow
Mm-hmm.
of it. If that makes, and
Yeah.
again, I was going to say, if that makes sense. No,
Yeah.
actually, these things
No,
don't
it
make
doesn't.
sense. This is emotion. Emotions don't make sense, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, actually, only slowly, the sentence, like, isn't that already freedom, that I was resisting, actually, from Hill? Well, not resisting, but like a sentence, like, someone is going through something, and then isn't that already freedom? I thought, but the other day, I was sliding into something, and I felt like, and then I said to myself, Liesbeth, this is also part of it. This is already freedom. This is it. So, and that was like, oh yes. And then I suddenly could get it. Yeah, or then it worked for me,
Yes.
for the apparent me.
Oh,
But
that's
like my
lovely.
son, when he was like 3 years old, he was in the front of my bicycle. So then they're very tiny, and he said to me, he said, the bad stuff and the ugly things in life, is that all included, or is that some mistake? Yeah. So that was such a profound question, and that's actually what we are talking about. It's all included. Yeah. So it's already freedom. That's another sentence of it's like that duality is included in non-duality in a way. Or does that
Another,
sound crazy?
Yes, yes.
another quote from Lester that rephrases that is, can you see the perfection
Yeah.
in the seeming imperfection?
Yes.
That's exactly what you're saying. Yeah. Yeah. And you heard this from your 3-year-old son.
Yes. Very, very wise. Yes. He also
Brilliant.
said to me when he was very tiny, he said, he said, I didn't want to be born, but also not to die. And then he said, he wanted to explain it to me. He said, not that I want to die now, but do you get it? Like not wanting to be born and to die. So he was, of course, still a little bit, in his total awareness, or how do you say it? He was
Right.
still part of the whole Yeah, and he realized at that age he could hardly talk. Okay, we're going to do this now. Blah. He still wanted to be part of that other oneness. Yeah, it's going from oneness to separation in a way, like when you're 3, suddenly realizing. And he had those realizations always on the bicycle, because I think because he got kind of in a trance, mother biking, and he just all the trees and the houses and getting into. Yeah, but
That's wonderful.
well, kids know. Yeah.
Yes.
Because
I think that really.
Go ahead.
I think it really binds up really beautifully, this conversation, like it's all part of the whole.
Yes.
It's all inclusive, all included. I think that is the essence of what we've been talking about, and there are no mistakes to be corrected. There's nothing to do, and even wanting to do something is fine. I think it's beautiful.
Yes.
Beautiful.
Yes.
Thank you, Liesbeth. This has been wonderful.
Yes, I really enjoyed it. So
Yes. And we'll write your not email, but your website here in the description so people can find you.
Do I have to type in something?
No, we'll write
We'll
it.
do this when it comes time to publish the video. All of the details will be available in the description, which I'm pointing to down there. It will be that way.
Great. Well, it was really nice to connect to you all, to you too. Really, it's also the Sangha, that is very important, and it makes me happy that we have a group again.
Yes,
very nice.
It is. Thank you so much for being.
Yeah, and thank you for hosting this, Stephen and Katja. Thank you.
Wonderful. Okay, so I'm stopping the recording.